Good morning. Our prelude this morning is Ancient Mother. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your call. Ancient Mother, I hear your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. My name is Catherine Schuler, and I'm this morning's service leader. Today, our homily will be delivered by Irene Kay. Irene's a member of this congregation and also of the UU Animal Ministry. She's also certified in plant-based nutrition and meal preparation. Irene was formerly a member of the UU Church in Manchester, New Hampshire. Today, our music will be presented by Rachel Derry, Cindy Carey, Marianne Forbes, and George Zavarese. We are not the first people on this land, nor will we be the last. We acknowledge our connection to the web of all existence, honoring the past and preparing for the future. The stewardship of the original people who lived here preserved this place for our generation. We seek to be respectful stewards of this place for those who follow. We welcome you today, whatever the circumstances of your life, in the many ways we identify as people, and in the diversity of how we love and live. In this house of faith, we are all included as we search for truth, build community, and strive to make the world a better place for all. Now, we kindle this flame of hope and commitment, reminding ourselves that our circles of compassion can be limitless and extend ever outward to enfold all beings with love and dignity, kindness and hope. These words are by Vicki Talbert, one of the founders of the UU Animal Ministry. Our hymn is number 134, Our World is One World.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the
today is called One Summer Day, and it's adapted by Reverend Gary Kowalski, who was for many years the president of the UU Animal Ministry. When Theodore Parker was 4 or 5 years old, he lived on a farm in Roxbury, Massachusetts in the United States. As he walked through the fields one day, he swung a stick through the tall grass growing along the path. This was about 200 years ago, but summer days in the country were probably a lot like summer days today. As he came to a creek that ran through the farm, he saw a turtle sunning itself on a rock. Perhaps you've seen turtles doing that. Now, Theodore had seen some children using sticks to poke at turtles and other animals. They thought it was funny to startle the turtles and knock them into the water. Theodore wanted to be like the big kids he had seen, so he raised his stick, took aim, and was ready to poke at that turtle. Then he stopped, and he wasn't sure why. He looked at the turtle, peaceful and quiet. It seemed to be enjoying the day. The warm rock and the rippling water around it. Theodore was enjoying the sunny day himself. Was the turtle so different from him? He put down his stick and walked home, thinking about what had happened. When he got home, he told his mother about the turtle he had seen and that he wanted to hit the turtle, but something stopped him. She said, "Theodore, you understand the difference between right and wrong. That's what stopped you from hurting the turtle. Remembering that will help you to do the right thing throughout your life." Theodore Parker grew up to be a Unitarian minister, one of the greatest leaders of our religion. He protected the rights of those who couldn't defend themselves. He was a hero in the fight to end slavery. He prayed to Father and Mother God when that was thought strange. And he fought for the equality of women and their right to vote when women were not seen as equal and did not have the right to vote. He and his wife never had children of their own, but he felt a kinship with all living things. And it all started one summer day when a child saw a turtle and decided it had a right to enjoy the sunny day just as he did.
In these moments of contemplation, I invite you to relax, close your eyes if you like, and breathe deeply. Following our reading, there will be a few moments of silence followed by music. This morning's reading is by Dr. Albert Schweitzer. By having a reverence for life, we enter into a spiritual relation with the world. By practicing reverence for life, we become good, deep, and alive. Until we extend our circle of compassion to all living things, humanity will not find peace.
항상
talking today about the Unitarian Universalist animal ministry, but I'm going to start today with two brief stories. About 6 months ago, my 14-year-old calico cat named Yum Yum started to lose weight, and she became weak and frail. After a blood test, the veterinarian told me she had kidney disease and there was no hope of survival. The vet made a house call and I watched as Yum Yum was euthanized. For the next several weeks, I was a complete wreck, weeping for the loss of my beloved companion. As the sorrow washed over me, I realized that I had loved this little animal wholeheartedly, and I needed to let myself grieve wholeheartedly. Now, all these months later, I'm not crying as often, but when I do, the grief is just as deep and fresh as the day she died. I think everyone who's ever had a pet die can relate to my feelings. My second quick story. Back in the 1980s, I read a self-help psychology book about how children are affected by living in a dysfunctional family. I've forgotten the title of the book and most of what the author said, but I still remember one scenario that was presented. The author wrote that in a typical family comprised of a husband, wife, 2 kids, and a dog, there was a hierarchy of abuse and abusers. If the husband came home after a bad day, he could physically or verbally abuse anyone in the household. If the wife was angry, she could abuse the children, but not the husband. The older child could pick on the younger child, but not the mother. And if the youngest child was angry, the author wrote with tongue-in-cheek, their only outlet was to kick the dog. We'll get back to that story shortly. We live in a world filled with animals, and our relationships with them vary according to the animal or animals we're interacting with. If it's a household pet, we love it and care for it. If it's a food animal, we eat it. If it's a wild animal, we shoot it, either with a camera or a shotgun. On the nightly news, we feel relief when the fire department rescues a deer from an icy pond, or we're amazed when we learn that crows and otters can use tools. But for many people, their beliefs about certain animals become mixed. They're not completely comfortable with dolphins in a marine park or wild animals performing in a circus. They aren't sure how they feel about their neighbor who goes moose hunting every year. Or when they hear reports on the squalid conditions at a local poultry farm or pig slaughterhouse. We're all too aware, especially recently, of discrimination in our society from racism, sexism, ableism, or ageism. In all types of discrimination, a dominant group uses differences in race, sex, ability, or other characteristics to objectify another group. The dominant group then uses this as a rationale for oppression, as their privilege. Generations of Black, brown, and indigenous people have suffered under racism and white privilege. Women of all colors have been the victims of sexism and male privilege. But there's another kind of privilege, and that's human privilege, or speciesism. This is the belief that humans are the superior beings on the planet, and that all other animals are here for us to use as we please. We have oppressed and exploited animals of all kinds for millennia. We confine and breed animals for food, as objects for our amusement in sports, or as the subjects of medical experimentation and testing. And we kill them for the most trivial of reasons. If we think about the fictional family dog in my second story, any human member of the family can abuse that dog. This is based on the speciesist belief in human privilege that the author writes about so glibly. If oppression is the hallmark of speciesism, what is its opposite? I would say that it's compassion. Why were my feelings so intense when faced with my cat's illness? It was compassion for a fellow creature of a different species. One of the earliest proponents of animal rights under the law was the English philosopher Jeremy Bentham. In 1789, he wrote, The question is not, can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer? Why should the law refuse its protection to any sensitive being? My cat couldn't tell me where she hurt or how to help her, but I knew that she was suffering. Now, both the fictional dog and my dear cat are specific animals. I treated my cat with love and kindness, and I like to think that the fictional dog was well treated most of the time. But these animals are individuals living in close contact with their owners. What about other animals? Can my compassion include animals that I don't know by name? Can I extend my compassion to all animals? Dr. Will Tuttle, an American educator and author, wrote, "Compassion is ethical intelligence. It is the capacity to make connections and the consequent urge to act to relieve the suffering of others." Our fourth UU principle encourages us to make a responsible search for truth and meaning. Within the UU community, there are concerned people who are exploring their own attitudes and actions towards animals, using the animal ministry to grow their compassion for all individuals of any species. They support each other in learning how caring for all beings is a moral and religious issue, and they engage in concrete actions to bring about change on the individual, congregational, and societal level. The UUAM has developed several courses that serve to broaden our understanding of our seventh principle, the interconnected web of life, of which humans are just one strand. In the Reverence for Life program, based on the ethic developed by Albert Schweitzer, participants inform themselves about non-human suffering and how to live in harmony with the natural world, which includes a deep respect for human as well as non-human animals. Excuse me. The First Principle Project is an ongoing conversation about what it means to be compassionate in a multi-species world. The movement aims to restate the UU First Principle as the inherent worth and dignity of all beings. Demonstrating our values through eating is a food education curriculum, and it uses video, discussion, and supplementary materials to explore issues such as how can we fight global warming with our fork? What really happens to the workers and animals who produce our food? Participants also prepare recipes that demonstrate values of health, justice, compassion, and sustainability. These courses are explored using small group ministry. All of the courses are available on the UUAM website, and individuals can use them for self-study. On a practical level, UUAM members provide a variety of activities within their congregations, including field trips to animal sanctuaries, bake sales to benefit animal charities, and film series. Before the pandemic, I was planning to have an informational meeting at the church in September for people who are interested in learning more about UUAM and to answer questions. But since that won't be happening, I suggested if you want more information, go to uuam.org. That's uuam.org. The website has information on climate change and diet, the history of the UUAM, all of the programs that I just mentioned are there, and you can sign up for a monthly newsletter. UUAM also has a Facebook page. And you're welcome to contact me by email or phone. I'm in the congregant directory. Once we get into the autumn season and see how church activities are going to go forward, we may be able to meet in person or perhaps have a Zoom meeting. I'll close with words from Henry Beston, an American writer and naturalist, who was writing about our attitudes towards animals. Excuse me. We need another and a wiser and perhaps a more mystical concept of animals. Remote from universal nature and living by complicated artifice, men in civilization survey the creatures through the glass of his knowledge and sees thereby a feather magnified and the whole image in distortion. We patronize them for their incompleteness, for their tragic fate, for having taken form so far below ourselves. And therein do we err, for the animal shall not be measured by man. In a world older and more complete than ours, they move, finished and complete, gifted with the extension of the senses we have lost or never attained, living by voices we shall never hear. They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations, caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and the travail of the earth. Blessed be.
Number 175, we celebrate the web of life. We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing. A fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we o'er the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth.
Now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year. W.E.B. Du Bois.
That's something by the Irish Rovers. A long time ago, when the earth was green, there was more kinds of animals than you've ever seen. They'd run around free while the earth was being born, but the loveliest of all was a unicorn. Well, there were green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, the loveliest of all was the unicorn. Now God seen some sinning and it gave him pain. He said, stand back, I'm gonna make it rain. He said, hey, brother Noah, I'll tell you what to do. Build me a floating zoo and take some of them green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, don't you forget my unicorn. Old Noah was there to answer the call. He finished up making the ark just as the rain started to fall. He marched in the animals 2 by 2, and he called out as they went through, hey Lord, I got you green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but Lord, I'm so forlorn, I just can't see no unicorns. Then Noah looked out through the driving rain. Them unicorns were hiding, playing silly games, kicking and a-splashing while the rain was pouring. Oh, them silly unicorns. Well, there were green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-back camels and some chimpanzees. unicorns. The ark started moving, it drifted with the tide. Them unicorns looked out from the rocks and they cried, and the waters came down and sort of floated them away. And that's why you never seen a unicorn to this very day. But you'll see green alligators and long-necked geese, some humpty-backed camels and some chimpanzees, some cats and rats and elephants, but sure as you're born, you're never gonna see no unicorn.